Welcome to Mint Views. Now, several research surveys are showing us that today's millennials are not particularly keen to buy their own homes. Now, the industry itself, the real estate industry, is in a bit of a slump. In fact, a deep slump because of lack of demand. At one time, the average age of the home buyer in this country used to be in the 40s or 50s. That was in the last century. In the past 20 years or so, the age has actually declined. It's people in the 20s who've been buying homes, millennials. With that demand gone, it looks like the industry is actually reeling from a severe crunch. The question is, are Indian millennials being rational investors, or is there something to do with millennial behavior which keeps them away from buying homes? That's the topic we have today. Shrija, what do you have to say about it?
I think there's a shift in the buying choices of the millennials in the sense, and I would say that they are more financially savvy and prudent than they were 20 years back, perhaps, because they're now more prone towards investing in mutual funds, which is a better investment asset class rather than investing in a house, which would give you, a lower capital yield. And also, the interesting part is there's a data point provided by the Association of Mutual Funds in India, which states that there has been a substantial and a stable growth in the, MF asset class. The data that they have quoted is it has risen to about 25.47 trillion. So that tells you that the shift is happening, and I would say, being a millennial myself, I would prefer to invest in an SIP or an MF rather than choosing to buy a house.
Aha, aha. What do you have to say about that, Shrija?
I would disagree with Shrija a bit here, and I would go to the extent of saying that millennials are not being really smart in not buying a house. You see, real estate prices have for the past 4 5 years stagnated. In an unsaturated market like India, demand and therefore prices for houses are only going to go up.
So, is this a good investment or a bad investment to buy a house? What should the youth be doing?
I think his statement reflects a very, very unhealthy attachment that we have to real estate sector. Traditionally, we are so attached to the sector that even if it does not make financial sense, we are ready to ignore the financials behind it, the statistics that show whether the investment is good or not, and still buy it just because of an emotional attachment to that asset. And this itself, the point that he made, I think it's a fallacy that the real estate market will continue to rise. On the contrary, I think prices are going nowhere for the next 5-10 years. So it would be a mistake actually. And the wider point over here is that the millennials are financially much more savvy than the previous generation. So they see an investment from a pure investment point of view, whether it's fetching returns or not. As Shrija made a point that investments in mutual funds are rising, I think that clearly shows that they are preferring to go to asset classes where the money is growing more.
Are there other sort of behavioral issues?
Factor of job volatility, which I think is keeping them away from going into buying houses. Also, a lot of millennials nowadays, they want to upgrade their skills. Maybe go for a course, go for further studies and all that. So buying a house, having to pay an EMI could actually be a burden on their finances.
Well, by and large, it looks like today's millennials are very, very investment savvy. They're actually calculating rent yields versus returns from other asset classes. And what they see in real estate doesn't seem to excite them very much. The emotional attachment that people had with homes seems to be a lot less with this generation. On the other hand, just because we are in a slump right now does not necessarily mean that house prices are stagnant or will stay stagnant forever. It's still possible that there are some good investments to be had by or done by millennials if they spot the right bargain and buy that house. I would suggest they don't kind of rule it out, but yes, be savvy about it. Thank you.